Hey everybody, welcome to our April version of our Soul Food Cafe. And as you can see, I have decided to relocate to the beach for this month. I decided to take a trip to the Maldives because that's where my soul wanted to be today. So I hope you can kick back, have yourself a cuppa. I've just ordered one from the cafe and they've just ordered into me a nice cup of tea. So what beverage have you got today? Cheers.
Cheers. I am on water today.
Water, that's right. You're fasting. So thank you for joining us, even though you can't have the croissants and all the other delicious delicacies that are on offer today. I hope you're all comfortable and have something lovely to drink, something that will nourish your soul and your heart and your body. So yes, enjoy the Maldives. I find that this is a beautiful place to relax and help my soul to settle and feel calm and aligned. So I think that each month I might take a journey to a different part of the world, find a cafe that fills my soul at that particular time. So I invite you to join us each and every month. And the idea of our Soul Food Cafe is to come and just hang out, chill for a bit with like-minded souls and have a little bit of a catch-up, talk about a topic of the month, have a conversation around it, and then get some time just to go into little breakout rooms so that you can have a conversation with like-minded people at your table together. So today, it's interesting because first I wanted to start by saying my deepest apologies for not being here last month. Last month in March, we were talking about affirmations, and unfortunately I wasn't able to be here because I lost my voice. And so Francois and Julie nicely stood in for me. But the thing is that I lost my voice because I was going through a whole lot of emotional stuff at the time, and I found that I was trying to navigate my way through whatever was happening for me, and I found I wasn't able to speak my truth. And so what happens is our soul works with our body and it manifests in different ways no matter what's going on in your life. If you're having blocks around something, it manifests in your body. And so when I lost my voice, I had to really dig deep and think that why am I not able to speak? Because this is not unlike me. This is not like me. I normally have no problem with speaking. So it was a time for me to go inwards and to start feeling into it about why have I lost my voice? What am I not able to speak at the moment? And so, yeah, I went through quite a process. And so I wanted to share that with you today around what it means when we can't speak our truth, or are you speaking your truth? And what does it mean? Because they say that speaking your truth will set you free. And I believe that to be true. And we'll have a conversation in a little while about that and how that's reflected in your life. But, you know, we don't want to go through life pretending to be somebody that we're not. We don't want to speak other people's truth. We want to find what it is inside of us that we really have to say, you know, what it is that we're here for and what do we need to say to the world, or even just from day to day, what is it that we want to say to people? So digging deep and finding what it is that you want to say. And it's about being true to yourself. So on a soul level, when we embody our soul and we're actually coming from a heart and soul space, it's easy to speak our truth because we're in alignment with that. Whereas if we're speaking from another place, it's not necessarily our truth. And I'm sure that we can all identify with that in different times if we just reflect back on our life and how that played out in our life. You usually know what's your truth and what's not. And, you know, being able to be honest about your feelings and your opinions and being able to share that with people. And I just wanted to share a little affirmation with you that I created for you because I thought that this said it all. If you speak your truth shall set you free. And so in a little while, I'll just pop the little copy of this into the chat box so that if you want, you can always print this out and put it up somewhere where you can see it. But just as a reminder, an affirmation, if you like, that, you know, it's really good to speak your truth. And because I didn't get to share affirmations with you last month, I'll bring a couple to you today. So you can pop this anywhere in the house to remind you to be in your soul and speak your truth each and every day. And also, sorry, there's another one that I wanted to share with you as well. Sorry. Share my screen with the other one. Just to remember too that we are love, okay? So if we can say an affirmation to ourselves, just close your eyes at the moment and actually feel into this. Just connect with your heart, body and soul and just really feel into this and say to yourself, I am love. Love is all there is. Because when we think about it, that is all there is. That is the truth. And we incarnate into this physical life so that we can express love in our own particular way in the world. So how we allow that to flow through us and out into the world is how we speak our truth. So once again, that affirmation, you can pop up on your mirror, on your windows, wherever you like, and affirm that truth to yourself every day. Just remember that you are love, and that if you can embody that love and speak your truth from that place, then that will set you free because that's your truth. And I don't know if anybody wants to share at this point about anything that they've had in their life that, a time when they've not been able to speak their truth and how that's played out or manifested in their life. A bit like when I lost my voice. The other one then is when you realise your truth and how you move forward in life. Because once I worked through that, then I had an ankle injury and I couldn't walk properly. So was that about fearing my truth and not wanting to step into it? So then I've been crippled with sore ankles and now they're finally better because I think, now I'm a lot clearer in the direction forward. So it's just really interesting how spirit moves through us and how our body tells us when we're not in alignment with ourselves and with our purpose. Does that make sense to everybody?
Yes, indeed.
Yeah. So I'm not sure if anybody else has had any experiences of late or throughout their life where they've had a physical experience or manifestation of some sort to tell them when they're not speaking their truth, and just as a little jolt, our soul gives us a little jolt when it wants us to speak more into that. Does anybody want to share anything at the moment?
Well, I can share something because actually, if I was to tell you every single time I haven't been able to speak my truth, we would have a very, very, very long Soul Food Cafe. That's for sure. But still, there are many times where, especially for me, it's been when I was receiving emotional pressure from someone. People have the right to give you emotional pressure, The point is, what do you do with it? And me, out of education or whatever, there's something in me say, well, if somebody puts emotional pressure, you have to say yes, kind of thing. It's just like, that's it. And which is obviously wrong. Emotional pressure shouldn't be your number one criterion to accept something. And I can tell you that so many times when I have that, I felt something. It's just, especially in the area of the solar plexus, I just felt that I was like not going to the right direction. But what's happened is, in these cases where I just didn't speak my truth, what happened is that there would be in my head a voice convincing me that these people really want it. And I'm sure they are right. You don't really know what's good for you. And I can tell you, every single time I've fallen flat on my face. So I could give you example by the hundreds, unfortunately, including big ones.
Exactly. And I'm sure everybody does. Like, if you reflect back on your life, I'm sure you would come up with probably a million things or times in your life when things like that have happened where you haven't felt like you could speak your truth. Just think back to primary school days when you were just a little kid in class and you felt like, you wanted to say something to the teacher, but you were terrified of speaking it in case you got told off or you know, in my days, it was the girls would go and get the ruler on the back of the legs if you said the wrong thing, or you know, your mouth washed out was so something that people didn't approve of. So you had the fear put in you so that you wouldn't speak your truth. And so it starts from a really young age, you know, when you're just little kids, even like toddlers, where adults that you might look up to, you know, tell you off for speaking your truth. And so you feel like you can't speak your truth. And then it's like layer upon layer upon layer as you go through life that are put there, and you get this big barricade there so that, you know, you go to say something, you just can't get the words out because you're fearful of what the repercussions will be. You're worried that people won't like you if you say what you really think, you know, or that you'll have a falling out with someone. And, you know, if you're a people pleaser, which, you know, hands up, yeah, that's me. Anybody who's an empath is usually quite a people pleaser because you want to keep the calm. You want everybody to feel happy and at peace. So you're out of your way to keep the peace. And so for that very reason, you quite often don't speak your truth, because you think that if you speak what you really want to say, would like to say, that, you know, people won't like it. And so the people pleaser in you doesn't feel safe. So I'm sure everybody can relate to that, because I think most people here are empaths as well and probably have that same thing happening in their life. And then, you know, it follows you through life. So as you become an adult, and you go through university or, you know, higher learning or whatever, and it's the same scenario, you know, your colleagues or with your teachers, and then you move into the workforce. And so then you've got, you know, your teachers telling you different things. And when you're in the workforce, it's like, you know, because I worked in the hospital system for 40 years, and it's the doctors, or it's the, you know, it's the this or it's the that. It's the people that you see as seniors that you don't want to speak out and say the wrong thing because you don't want to be told off in front of all your colleagues and made to look small. So many times in our life, you know, we don't speak our truth because we're afraid of what will happen. And yet, if you can get the courage from within you to actually speak your truth and say how you're really feeling, yes, it can be really uncomfortable and confronting, but ultimately it actually sets you free, because it actually opens up the channels of communication with anybody that you might have been concerned about, and you can have a great conversation with those people, hopefully, if they're open-minded and open-hearted, and then you can sort out whatever it is that you need to talk about, and then it can come from a completely different place, and we can stand in our love, stand in our power as a spiritual being. Can we all relate to that?
Absolutely.
And sorry, were you going to say something, Francois?
No, I will leave you a second because I have a cat screaming bloody murder because mommy is not to be seen. I'll be a second.
Oh no, better go save the cat. The cat is speaking its truth. It's saying, Daddy, where are you? Oh goodness, I'll just see what you guys have been writing here. Yeah, it's good to reflect, isn't it, on all of this, because there's so much that happens throughout our life, and you know, it's not until you stop and think about it and yeah, wonder where the truth comes from. Yeah, and then God. Yeah. And so what happens when we speak our truth is that we find peace in ourselves, so that, you know, all that angst that you bottle up for ages is released, so you can finally feel peace within yourself and peace with the world. You can actually inspire others. So if you're in a position at work or something where everybody's trying to say what they want to say, but nobody feels they can speak their truth, if one person actually stands their ground, speaks their truth, quite often it frees everybody around, because quite often there's a lot of other people that felt the same. Because I can think of times in my workplace where there might have been a bully in the workplace picking on a lot of people. Nobody wanted to say anything because they didn't want to be the, you know, the victim of the bully. So everybody just went hush hush and tippy-toed around them. And then one day one person would come along who would actually say, well, no, this is not okay. And then they would stand their ground and they would speak their truth while everybody's like hunkering in the background wondering what they're saying. And this person says what everybody else has been wanting to say, speaking their truth from a heart centre, just to say this is not okay, you know, and then it frees everybody else up in the workplace when that happens. And so, you know, it actually then inspires others to possibly speak their truth. So if that bully then starts to pick on them or one of the students, like again, what I've seen in the workplace, in the hospital, when we had student midwives working there and being bullied by some of the senior midwives, you know, when you stand up to that bully and say it's not okay to bully the students, then the students are so thankful, and it actually inspires them to stand up for themselves later on as well. So no matter when, if you feel that something is out of alignment, it's always good to speak your truth, because it frees up not only yourself but others around you. And it also helps you to overcome your fears, because you keep it in there. It's like this little monster in the cupboard, isn't it, that's waiting to get you, and you just don't let it out. So you just hold on to it. But once you actually speak your truth, you realise that there was actually nothing to be afraid of anyway. You know, it's better out of the closet than in the closet. And it allows you to open your heart more, so that you are open to more things coming in, rather than bottling everything up and locking it closed so you don't get hurt. If you actually open up and speak your truth, it opens your heart amazingly. And so you can allow more in. Sorry, Alexandra, were you wanting to ask a question or share an experience?
Yeah, I just wanted to say that about this subject, I find it very interesting, speaking your truth, because it's just so very difficult in our society, right? But what I've realized now, because I find it very important, is that whenever I don't speak my truth, or I can feel it in my body. I have more contractions in my body, and so now what I'm doing as a tip is always to tune back into my body now, really, because beforehand I was so used to numbing out my body, not listening to my body, you know, and my mental would just go, you know, would just lead the way. But actually no, I'm just like really trying to listen to the body. And whenever there are certain contractions, I'm like, oh, maybe I didn't, you know, maybe I didn't really speak the truth that I should have, you know, because sometimes, you know, I suppose I'm a people pleaser as well, a little bit. And I've realized that by doing so, sometimes I didn't even know I was doing it. That was and that's where the body intervenes, right, saying, hey, you know, that's where I got some throat issues as well. And another practice that I'm doing now is starting to talk in front of a public. So that is another fear, having a lot of people listening to you, and you know, so at the moment I'm doing that. I'm getting very nervous beforehand, and so that's another, I think that's another fear maybe that a lot of people have, is speaking their truth, or just speaking in front of, you know, a big audience, because I don't know why, because maybe we're just so, you know, afraid of being criticized or not fitting in, not belonging, and all of those things.
Yeah, that's all so valuable. Thanks so much for sharing all that.
Okay. You're welcome.
Most people are terrified. Like I used to be terrified of speaking in class, you know, back in primary school. If the teacher actually asked me to send something out, I would go, and shrink back. Why me? You don't pick me. And I think it's because we're conditioned not to speak out, you know, because in general mind anyway, children were seen, not heard. So we were always like told not to be speaking out of place, or not even to speak around the adults really. So yeah, we were conditioned like that. So it's no wonder that we are afraid of speaking. And much like you, Alexandra, I was terrified of speaking because of that. But there are tools and techniques that you can learn, you know, to help you with that. Because that's when I finally went and did my neuro-linguistic programming training, actually, was to help me with that fear of public speaking. Because I used to wish the stage would open up and just swallow me, because I was terrified of getting on the stage. So I learnt the techniques about, you know, putting myself into a resourceful state before I went up. And then before long, you know, it took a while of conditioning myself and getting rid of all the, you know, subconscious blocks around it. But then I got to the point where I looked forward to getting up and speaking about the subjects that I was passionate about and knew a lot about. But that's a learned thing. But when it comes to speaking your truth, it's even more scary because you think you'll attract criticism and all that, you know. So it's such a big area, you know, but something that I think more and more we're learning to do. And especially too as women, you know, women were always put down and said, no, we don't want to hear from women. Women don't have a voice. So as women, you know, we've been nations and generations about being able to speak and feeling valid, or, you know, feeling important, or like, you know, we have a say. I come across this too in the birthing space, and anybody else who, you know, is around birthing women would probably be fully aware of this too. But, you know, the woman to have to speak her truth when she's birthing, to say what she wants for her own, you know, birthing process, rather than this medical model that's taken her away from that and told her not to trust her intuition, to trust what we're doing, because we know best. We know what we, you know, is the best thing for you and your. So come here and we'll look after you and we'll help you birth your baby. And they don't allow the woman to actually go inwards and trust her intuition and then speak her truth, what she wants. You know, if she speaks out and says, I don't want pain relief, I want to squat in the corner, you know, it depends on the care provider as to whether she'll be allowed to do that. And why should we ever not be allowed to do that? We should be allowed to follow what our body wants, to do what we want, and to say what we want. I find that all the time in the birthing space, which is why you've got such a big job of just changing this paradigm around birth, you know, and how are treated and respected in birth. That's a huge area. I'll just read one of the comments, sorry. Leanne, truth and love is the heart, sure is, which belongs to Agnya Chakra. Okay, Mini Veda says centre of heart where power presence. I would love to know more about that. Kalyani, did you want to share a bit more about that with us? If you're there.
Yes, Faye.
Lovely to see you, by the way.
Yeah. So I'm just enjoying and just experiencing whatever you are sharing. Very much happy that I have joined this, you know, your talk today. It's really close to our heart, you know. Yeah, that's what many, you know, I can, as per my knowledge, the research what we have done with our ancient system, and especially what they are talking about truth is this, you know, the truth and love is the base of every life. That's what they say, you know, the truth and love is the base of every life, and from there the life starts. Okay, so when we are missing the truth, when we are missing the love, maybe knowingly, unknowingly, whatever it is, there the mistake starts. There we are collecting all the karmas. As you said, when we are speaking truth, we are not collecting any karmas. Like we are not any, if we speak truth means we are open. We are not hiding anything. We didn't hide, you know, we are completely free, close to the nature, close to the Lord. When we are trying to manipulate something by telling this and that, there we are started the collecting all the karmas, means little unwanted thing, and that creates lots of problem physically, mentally, psychologically. So that's why they say, please find the truth, be in love. That's the only way to nullify all your karmas and all the bad deeds and what. So far, whatever you have done knowingly, unknowingly, when you realize that, you need to go back and sit down and realize the truth. And that's enough. When you feel you are the love, when you feel that you have to stay with the truth, nothing can affect you, nothing can, you know, destroy you. There, even you are living in this world or not in this, the liberation, very liberation start happening when you realize your truth, when you realize you yourself is love. That's what you are talking so far in your own way. I'm very much impressed and happy for you, Faye. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Kalyani, for sharing that. That was so rich and valuable. So true, isn't it? And it's interesting, Alexandra, as you noticed too, about, you know, embodying that, you know, things when you're not speaking your truth. And it's how, when I said, you know, I lost my voice when I wasn't speaking my truth. And so your body gives you signs. And if we pay attention to our body and listen to the signs that show up and inquire with our body about what's going on, then we get the message and we can actually, you know, work through it and then avert any more issues rather than it developing into something really debilitating. but so good on you. Like, this is our journey, I think, is to actually recognize what's going on in our bodies and to trust our intuition around it as well. So yes, Francois, you've got your hand up. You're muted.
So you should have enjoyed the quietness, even though I was talking.
Yeah, I wasn't going to say that, but yeah.
So yes, I mean, this my experience about that is very, very often, like, a very simple truth it comes very gentle at first. It's just, it's very soft. People call it even the quiet voice of God inside, just an intuition. Now, when it's there, it's completely pure. It's harmless for anyone, I mean, if someone feels challenged by that voice, I mean, that's too bad for them. But usually what's happening is because of education or because of what we have lived, we have, as you said at the beginning, Faye, beautifully, is that we have been conditioned to disbelief or to judge or, cancel this voice. And we have all sorts of arguments. What will mommy think? What will daddy say? What will happen? What the teacher, blah. I mean, all that jazz. Now, what happens is then this becomes frustration. Frustration starts coming up. It starts feeding. And then when finally your truth is up to here, what will happen very often is that it will come out as a blast, and it will no longer be your truth. It will be like a mixture of anger, accusation, upset. I mean, you name it. I mean, we all know this pile of stuff, which just comes out. And the unfortunate thing is that the other people feel that as an aggression. They just receive that as an aggression. And so this reinforce, it's a vicious circle. We reinforce, oh, I was right not to speak my truth, because when I do it, I suffer even more. And this is the beauty of little by little, I guess. I mean, you may not agree with me, but it's the beauty of more and more being able to be vulnerable in front of each other. And whenever we talk to others about what we are living, not talk about you are this or you did that, or, I mean, that's what happens in couples very often and things like that. But more, I experienced that. When this happened, this is what I experienced. Now, if somebody is not able to hear that, that means they are too wounded. But whenever there is genuine love between people, I mean, you are not aggressing them by telling them what you feel. And it's a very challenging thing to learn that. But at the end of the day, what's going to happen is when we have one successful communication like that, and something which was difficult starts looking like, whoa, this is great, then the vicious circle is replaced by something that, wow, it feels so wonderful when I speak my truth. Now the question is, once again, inside ourselves, what is my truth? Should I call I don't know, I would like you to say, but talk about that, Faye, is every thought, every feeling which goes through my body, is this my truth? Now that's my question to you, if you would like to answer that.
Well, a tricky one. Well, I don't think every thought and thing that goes through your body is, because our body's like a big sifter, isn't it? And we like a filter. So we have, I don't even know how many trillions of thoughts we have going through our mind every day. They're happening even when we're not conscious of it. So definitely they're not all our truth. They're just like random thoughts going through our head. It's like some chaotic network going on in there. So our trick is to actually sift through what's going through there and decipher which things are resonating with me and whatever. But I think that the difference between thoughts and the truth is that thoughts are buzzing in your mind, and your truth actually comes through your core. It comes from source. It comes flowing through your crown chakra down into your heart, and you feel it in your heart. And when it resonates in your heart, then you know you're speaking your truth. But if it's coming from your head, then it's not. And you're just going blah from something that's like jumbled thoughts, then that's not your truth. That's just your thoughts, and you're just verbalizing stuff. But when it's your truth, it's actually coming from your heart, just like Kalyani said so beautifully. It resides in your heart, and it is channeled down from source, I believe, or from our higher self.
Right.
What does everybody else think about that? What are your thoughts on it?
Wow. This is a very beautiful discussion, Faye. And the questions you are bringing are also very, very, interesting to think about. Like, it feels like taking a pause and, going into and asking those questions and finding, maybe answers to that. Maybe like I would like to do it maybe after your session. But because physically I can't, right now when I look, I'm trying to figure out, I don't recall any physical ailment, in that way. But what I can, vividly recall is like a drain of energy for me. If I'm not living my truth, if I'm not, in or alignment with it for some time, it feels very dull or boring or like tiresome or heavy, I can say that. Psychologically, I would say, you feel like, okay, a chain, as if you're chained to that something which is not yours because it is external, and your truth is your own, and it is so light, and you don't have to do anything with it, you can just fly with it. So that is what I feel, living in truth or acting from there versus trying to fit into the world.
Yep, totally.
Mhm.
Well said.
Wonderful.
Yeah.